And we're back with some NBA observations right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate you joining us. Always great for some NBA talk on the other side of the NBA All-Star break. And here today to go ahead and discuss that with me is a good man indeed. It is, of course, Alfred Ezman of the World Baseball Network, but you know him as the Orlando Magic expert and NBA expert indeed. You guys love him every time he comes back on the show. Alfred, it is always good to have you here, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Gerald, for having me back once again. Ready to talk some hoops for a little bit. I've been busy. College baseball is officially back. So, my butt's already been kicked with that, 4 days into the season, and it'll be that way until June. So excited for that, but also excited to talk some NBA action.
I know you said you were on the road working for the World Baseball Network. After knowing what you know about All-Star Weekend, maybe having caught a little bit of it, are you glad you were on the road for most of the weekend after what you heard and saw with All-Star Weekend?
Ooh, I mean, compared to what the NHL is doing, I'm pretty happy to be on the road. I have some thoughts about NBA All-Star Weekend because I think it's starting to come to a head with everybody and how they feel about it. It's kind of been like a controversial thing, for a while now, but now it's like everyone's like, okay, something needs to be fixed about this thing. It's ridiculous. So we'll get into that. But yeah, like you said, I'm glad a little. I was in Dallas, unlike our background player, doing some college baseball stuff. So I caught a little bit of it. I caught the dunk contest with Mac McClung and his dynasty he has going with that. So that was fun. But besides that, didn't watch a whole lot of it. And I don't think I missed too much, to be quite honest.
You didn't.
No.
And I even skipped out on it, and I left up our playbacks for everybody out there so the guys can watch. And all I heard in the background was them talking about other things outside of the actual event itself. And then Mac McClung, I don't want to be mean to the kid,
Yeah.
but when a borderline NBA player / G leaguer continually wins the NBA dunk contest, I don't know what that says.
Right.
And the fact that you bring in, as far as the competition, you bring in a G League team that almost finds its way into matching up against the All-Stars, and instead you have a first and second year team playing the NBA All-Stars and taking up a good bit of time in between all the music, in between all the interruptions, in between all the other stuff. I don't know what that says about NBA All-Star Weekend at this point, because I don't even know what is NBA All-Star Weekend at this point, Alfred. I honestly don't know what the NBA is going to do next, because whatever they are doing now isn't working.
No, and I'll go outside of basketball. I think the worst part about this for the NBA, the Four Nations Cup for the NHL is kicking the NBA to the curb with what's happening with this All-Star Weekend. I mean, everyone, you have people who don't watch hockey. You're talking about that USA and Canada game and how they got into fights every 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Because those guys love that country. And they had ESPN had, a lot of people could feel how they want about ESPN. ESPN had PK Subban on Get Up, the morning show, talking about the two comparisons and stuff. And he said, yeah, the hockey players are playing for a country and they're just showing more passion than these NBA guys. That's why audiences are engaged in that and not the NBA All-Star festivities. So it's a very fair point. And I mean, the dunk contest, you're right. Like, I love Mac McClung. This is very cool. Him winning 3 straight dunk contests. I think it's awesome. He had a Magic jersey on, so, I love that. But, objectively speaking, I mean, when the participants you have are him, a G leaguer, Andre Jackson, Stephon Castle, and Buzilis, come on. I don't know what casual basketball fan is going to watch that. You know what I mean? Long gone are the days of, stars doing this big dunk contest. And it's been that way for a while now, but I think it's just another thing that people are noticing. So yeah, it just rough. And then the whole new format with the 40-minute or the first to 40 thing. I guess it was a try to fix stuff, but it did not go that good at all. Draymond
I'll just say this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was saying it was the NBA games are boring and all that, but I'll let you finish on that statement here. I will give Victor Wembanyama all the credit in the world for wanting to win and having
Mhm.
intensity to win, despite all the corners that were cut in wanting to win. So they got disqualified, but I will leave it at that as far as the NBA skills challenge is concerned.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, it's like it's the clips I saw of it. I did not watch the skills challenge, but the clips I saw of it on Twitter were absolutely hilarious. I mean, it was just like, what is going on? I could have went Gerald, me or you could have went down on that court and sort of imitated what those guys were doing. I mean, it was that hilarious to me. It was just a miss. And then I was gonna say, I know we're probably not big Draymond Green fans, on this channel, but I do like what he said about the weekend, where, what it was basically paraphrased. It was something along the lines of, you know, it's just, shortened and dummied down to the point where it's just unwatchable at this point, that with this new format. And he brought up a good point. He's like, the rising stars thing, although it's cool to see guys like Zach Edey, get into the mix in this All-Star weekend, it really defeats the whole purpose of guys like SGA and some of these top end stars who have earned their way, to being named an All-Star. So he hated that. Like he said, when I was named an All-Star, it kind of like meant something to me, and you didn't have, some rookie that's doing good among rookies in the event with you, because, they're not at your level yet. So it just ruins the point of like what it means to be an all-star. I'm getting all choked up over here talking about this. It ruins the point, of being an all-star, and it ruins the point of this event. And I think this was just like a change of pace to it, to try to adjust to kind of the criticisms the event has received, and it just came out worse. So yeah, a huge miss by the NBA this week, and especially with, the hockey stuff happening at the same time, it made it look that much worse.
Yeah, don't get me, don't get people started on that. I mean, they're brawling before the game
Right.
even starts. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It was must see TV. I mean, there were people who were like, "Oh, I just watched it because it was a USA thing." Yeah, I never watch hockey. I just, turned it on because it was just USA going at it with Canada, which is just a big, it's a big rivalry in and of itself within that sport. So I mean, it made it worse. It was just like, choosing between a bar of gold and just like a bundle of sticks. I don't, and it was at the fact that it was at the same time hurt it. Disaster. I mean, just really disastrous. I watched a little bit of the dunk contest, and that was really it. That was kind of like all I caught from All Star Week.
And unfortunately, again, there's still much more to be improved upon before it becomes reality. And again, I took a little bit of flack from people like, why don't you like the All-Star weekend? Why don't you like the All-Star weekend? Well, now you know why I have grown to loathe the All-Star weekend in regards to that, and don't really care what goes on, because there are more exciting things. The Daytona 500, I was watching the Daytona 500 while they were just, I heard in the background, I had them on my phone on the couch, listening to them all whine and groan and moan on playback about what was going on. Meanwhile, I'm watching
Yeah.
a hugely, just exciting race coming down to the final laps, where the guy in ninth place at the final lap ends up the winner crossing the checker flag. And it was
Right.
absolutely just a fantastic ending for that. Just say, and again, so much difference there. Now, mind you, it was supposed to take place in the morning, but the rain delays
Mm.
caused that. But need I digress? The NBA has to go ahead and look and do something with All Star Weekend. I could agree with you more. Um, Oh, Bloodhound. It depends. I get comps sometimes, but when I do pay, uh, I've paid as much as I think 350 for really decent seats for
Mm.
354 for decent seats at a Golden Knights game. But you're right, it depends on the matchup, Bloodhound. But sometimes I do get comps for it, and believe me, I take them up on that when it happens here in Vegas. But yeah, Golden Knights are the hottest ticket in town, regardless. But back to the NBA discussion. And once again, I'm on with Alfred Ezman. Please go ahead and check out his great work as part of the World Baseball Network. And he's going to let you know exactly where to catch him elsewhere around the interwebs here at the very end of our show. But before we get into that, the NBA season is back upon us. I mean, we talked about the hockey thing. They're still going to have stuff going on with the Four Nations stuff. That's
Yeah.
like taking forever. That's the one thing I would say. Hey guys, don't take forever. You started before the NBA All-Star weekend, and now you're finishing it up after the NBA All-Star weekend before you even get back to hockey.
Right.
Although I don't think some of the players that are not involved don't mind, because they're probably on still, at their favorite Caribbean island, still chilling right now at this point. But be that as it may, the NBA All-Star break ends tomorrow when the Lakers and Charlotte have a rescheduled game that they're going to go ahead and play on the docket tomorrow. Before we get into the rest of the league, my friend, and your Orlando Magic, I wanted to go ahead and ask you, because I do talk about the Magic quite a bit on the show, and I always talk about how, man, I can't wait to talk about to Alfred on the show. So they all know we have a conversation coming on this.
Mm-hmm.
But Luka Doncic, you were not here for as far as Luka Doncic becoming a Los Angeles Laker. I know that Sharon, one of our regular people in the chat, has said that he doesn't look happy. He doesn't look excited to be here. And I know there was a lot of shock for him coming from Dallas, what happened where he thought he was the pillar of the team and of the community. And then you're told, by the way, pack your bags. We're sending you on out to LA. But he looks a lot better. I saw him today at practice. It's retweeted on my Lakers Fast Break Twitter. He looks a lot better. Looks like he's becoming more and more. I see the smiles now on his face. He's joking around with his teammates. He seems a little bit more accustomed to it. There is the fact he does have to get in better shape. I'm not going to sit here and tell anyone differently. That's a work in progress. So, the early returns from people like already dismissing it, or just, you know what, I think you're going to regret saying that. It's going to take some time. But now that you've had some time, I really value your opinion on this, because we have spoke about it in the moment, and we've also spoken about it just outside the moment. Now that we've had a couple games to digest this, you have not been able to go ahead and share your thoughts in this format on this channel yet on the Luka Doncic whole fiasco. I want to hear your thoughts, my friend, on Luka Doncic and what happened as far as all the way it went down, and then how as far as it's going to help the Lakers out going forward.
Yeah, well, to those of you who said initially when he got to LA he was unhappy, I mean, I'm with you, Gerald. I think it's a shock thing. Like, look, this is a guy that said, well, one, it's a guy that got his old team to the finals a year ago, so that in and of itself is just shocking enough. But it's a guy who also said at points throughout his career in Dallas that I want to bring a championship to Dallas, and I think that goes back to his time playing with Dirk Nowitzki before he retired for a little bit, of Dirk being like, setting the standard, if you will, of that championship he won for them in 2011, and how Luka kind of wanted to imitate that to an extent, maybe. And so that part of it's shocking, because they just kind of, just kicked into the curb and were like, well, this isn't going to be the answer with Nico Harrison and the Mavericks organization. I'll get into them in a second, what it means for them. But with the Lakers, because that's what you guys care about, look, I think it's great for this Lakers team. I know you lose Anthony Davis, and you kind of got to, find a center to, compensate for that. Alex Len, I don't think is going to be it. I don't think that's going to be it. But to me, that's like, look, that can get figured out. You have a little bit of time to figure that out. You have a megastar that you got in this trade, and that should be the focus of what this means for your team. You want to try your best, your absolute best, to get another championship out of LeBron before he's gone and retired. I think if you're the Lakers, because once he's gone and retired, then you get into this whole, maybe rebuild kind of thing that I know as Lakers people aren't fans of, because you always want to be competing for championships. This allows you to do that. We have to have more time to see just how good this trade was. I mean, Lucas played 2 games, in LA. It's not a good sample size whatsoever. Because I understand his 3-point shot hasn't been there yet. But again, it's just 2 games to go off of. But I like it because you need to get one more championship out of LeBron before he retires, and you have an absolute megastar now next to him to do that. Albeit Anthony Davis was supposed to be this good combo too. now you have a different look, and you have to see how that ends up. For the Mavericks, it's different now. Anthony Davis already got injured, and is out for a little bit, dealing with that sort of stuff. But I don't think it set them back a whole, like just to the Stone Age, like people made it out to be initially. I think that's also from the shock of your star player getting sent somewhere. But it's certainly just odd, them making that move. It's just odd. Like I don't know if that was kind of the move to make, and the part that stinks for them about all of it was how quickly Anthony Davis got hurt. You know what I mean, Gerald? Like that was the part that really, really stung, I think, for them. But if he's healthy, you kind of got to like the Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis combo. Are they worse now than they were when they had Luka? Yeah, I think they are a little bit. But like people kind of reacted as if they were, all of a sudden a bottom team in the West. And that's just not the case. Like they are still a pretty good basketball team, even without him. It's just a new look Nico Harrison wanted for whatever reason. I don't know if Frank's in our chat, but I don't know if he's talked to you guys about it. I can't really explain the thought process Nico Harrison had about why he did it, and why he wanted this new look with Anthony Davis, but it's what they wanted. And I think, it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I do think it set them back this year at least, but we'll see. That's my takeaway is for the Lakers, you get another megastar in who can help allow you to win a championship now. And for the Mavericks, you sent away your star for a new look where, yeah, it's a TBD on how it will end up going forward with them more so.
Yeah, I don't think that Natalia's asking in the chat that do you think Rob traded for DFS knowing he already is going to get Luka? I don't think so. Again, how this materialized over a short period of time, like a matter of 3-4 weeks when they first met. I believe, according to what reports saying at LA Live, whether that's correct or not, again, you have to take it for what it's worth. But at this point, yeah, the DFS trade I think had already been consummated at that point in time. So again, before he was proposed, Luka, from what most reports are saying, Natalia. So I don't think you would go out and just get DFS for just getting Luka. I just think that would be a mistake. I think at this point, what Joe's saying about a changing culture at that time with D'Lo, I think that was probably the what the impetus of that deal was, and obviously getting a little bit better defensively at the same time while you're doing it. But it is the Lakers now with Luka going forward. I don't think Dallas, once they get healthy, is a bad team at all. I think defensively, they're obviously going to provide a lot of problems because they do, well, when they have them all upright, they have several 7-footers to choose from in regards to what they can throw at people. The diversity in what they can throw at people as far as the type of bigs and the actions that they can run, whether they put AD in 4 and AD in 5 is going to make it intriguing. But the thing is, will they find enough scoring? Will they find enough playmaking? Because now they're down to only one playmaker in Kyrie Irving.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it certainly kind of limits, what they have now way more so than what they had before, obviously. The one thing I will say about them, though, Gerald, they did win their last 2 games heading into the All-Star break. So that's good news for them, at least. I mean, you had some good games heading into it. Kyrie Irving gave you 40 against Golden State. He's going to have to do that a lot going forward for them to really have some extended success in an extended playoff period. But yeah, I mean, you kind of got to look for who can go off and score for you in other points in time. I mean, I think with Max, I'm gonna look at what Max Christie has done for them the last few games. I mean, he's in 6 games.
He hasn't shot well, but he's scored really well. He scored really well for them. He's not shooting very efficiently, but they're giving him the green light there. They're giving the green light, and he's taking advantage of it. And more power to him for doing so.
And I'm looking at it right now because I actually have not looked at this until literally just now. I mean, 17 points a game in 6 games so far for him. That's pretty good. I mean, I feel happy for him because, the Lakers were not giving him that opportunity, and to rightfully so. I mean, he hadn't shown anything to allow himself to get that kind of opportunity. He's getting it now in Dallas, and he's making the most of it. So more power to him. Maybe that's another option to help out. That's another option to help out Kyrie. Obviously, Anthony Davis will be that once he gets healthier and back in the mix. Again, it's just a big change where even me I'm still like, I don't know how this is going to look for quite some time. That being said, like I said, they won 2 games heading into the All-Star break. So obviously something was working. You just kind of got to hold out and see. It'll be really interesting to see how they look initially out of the All-Star break. Because as it stands right now, they're still an 8th seed in the West fighting for playoff positions, and they're not far out from one of those top 6 seeds. I mean, they're 2 games back from the Clippers in 6th. So they're not in a horrible spot whatsoever. And it's just the whole TBD thing. I think I'd have a better answer for you after 10-ish games, after the All-Star break to tell you how they look. Because that's the other thing too, Gerald. This happened right before the break, and it was kind of like, you didn't get a good enough look before then to really see, what these guys were made of on their new teams.
Once again, it is Alfred Ezman along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening, for some NBA observations. Truly appreciate it. So let's get into the NBA as the Lakers start the NBA schedule back up post All-Star break with the Charlotte Hornets tomorrow. We're going to have it for you on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. And of course, the best post game that's out there right here at the Lakers Fast Break. I will say, though, that it is going to be very interesting where the Lakers are coming out of it. 5th place in the Western Conference. But I think a lot of eyes after the loss at Utah now are turned to the team that is very rapidly closing in on Memphis for 2nd place in the Western Conference. Denver has fixed a lot of things. They've won 8 in a row. They look like they're right now the hottest team in the NBA coming out of the All-Star break. I know a lot of people earlier in the season had written them off, but now that Jokic has a lot of people now that are able to go ahead and help him. Once again, some players coming back from injury. Murray is now getting a lot brighter, looking like he's shaken off all the stuff that he was going through with the Olympics and then also going through preseason and early in the season, whatnot. Things are starting to shape up correctly for Denver, which may make it harder for anybody to come out of the Western Conference outside of them, of course.
Yeah, the 2 words I have for this are this is not what the Western Conference wanted to see, was this team get going, because that was always the thing with them, is they still kind of got it. You just need them to get going all at the same time, and they have. In the month of February, which is I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is like all but one of the games they've had on this win streak. Nikola Jokic is averaging 30, 10, and 11 right now. That is pretty scary, and it's hard to stop, to be quite honest. He's had double figures in assists for all but 2 of the games on this win streak, and he's rebounded in double figures for all but 3 of the games, and he's scored well over 20 in all of them. I mean, he hasn't even been close. Actually, he hasn't even been close to 20 points in any of these games during this win streak. So it's very dangerous. It's something the West is pretty, I'd imagine, is kind of, turning their eyes toward, because it's like, hey, this team, there's still enough time for them to get close and catch Oklahoma City, even at 8.5 games back. So, it'll be quite the treat. I'm sure if they continue to play like this, if you're a lower end team in the West, like if you're one of those play-in teams, you probably want to fight. You probably don't want to end up playing Denver. So if Denver ends up with that too, and you're like a Minnesota or even a Dallas or a Sacramento, you don't want to end up playing this team, because it could be trouble, and you don't really want to be on their side of the playoff bracket, so to speak, in the West initially. You kind of want to wait and see them in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, they're putting it all together. And like you said, the hottest team in the NBA, you have your all-world player averaging easily averaging a triple-double a game. It's great stuff for this team. And going forward, I mean, they have just all the momentum in the world. Not a team you want to play right now whatsoever.
So he is here. He comes in with us right now. It is a guy whose channel I went on yesterday, and I was very happy to do so. It is, of course, the legend from I Got Next Sports Media. Legend, great to have you here for some NBA observations. We already talked about the Lakers, but we're kicking in as far as the hottest team in the NBA right now, which is the Denver Nuggets, and 8 in a row. I know we touched on it real briefly yesterday in our conversation, but I think a lot of people, a lot of teams out there are kind of keeping an eye on them because the run they're currently on could lead to them being a very tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, they've been on a roll. They really picked it up, and I think Jamal Murray just getting going the most was a big turnaround for Denver, and that really made a difference toward the entire season thus far. They've been doing pretty decently okay before he even got on fire, but to me, they're like a legit championship team when Jamal Murray and Jokic both together are clicking. That's a tough duo, and that'd be a tough outing to get rid of them if they both are clicking. So they got it together at the right time, and hey man, they're looking good, and we're gonna see how they look, especially when they go against your new little Lakers this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, I'm not going to make too much of it. Again, you don't know the status of LeBron going forward because how much of those injuries are going on with LeBron, his foot and his ankle. Is it, because he's eternally questionable on every injury report. Guess what? Tomorrow, he's questionable. Guess what? The day after that, he'll be questionable. So we don't know how effective he and Luka, plus they're still working with each other, learning with each other. I'm not going to take too much of what happens, win or lose, from Saturday and how they do. I want to know how they are a month from now, 6 weeks from now, heading into the playoffs, how Luka and LeBron are working with each other. By then, you're going to get a real good estimation of exactly how much damage they can do in the playoffs then, not necessarily in their fourth or fifth game together. I really think it takes time. As you guys know, when you guys are out there on the court, when you guys are out there as far as what, whether it's on the baseball field, basketball court, what have you, it takes time to learn how to work well and how to work best with your teammates. So again, whatever happens on Saturday, I don't want to take too much from it. And I just want to see exactly if the Lakers, even in this, newly created creation that they have now, as far as the team is concerned, if they can compete with one of the hottest teams that's out there in the NBA right now. And I know that Natalia has said, okay, the teams that they have faced are, that on this 8-win schedule have not been the highest, and that they've not competed well against teams in the upper echelon, which is a good point, absolutely. But still, eight in a row in the NBA is still 8 in a row in the NBA. It's like when the Lakers had won so many in a row or won 9 of 10, people were trying to cut down their schedule as well. So winning in the league consistently is a tough thing to do when you're, especially if you're going on the road and doing it. So we'll see and evaluate how the team is going forward. But yeah, Denver, they look like they're on a mission, guys. They look like they're getting things together. I'm not exactly loving it, but it is what it is. And for your Denver fan out there, you got to be liking that they are finally getting things back together and making it tougher on everybody in the Western Conference. Legend, I'll bring it to you, my friend.
Yeah, I would definitely say if I was a Denver fan, I would be very happy to see that Jamal signing to just finally come. I know last playoff he was really struggling, but this is the most to me. I think that 55 outing from Jamal Murray was a good, wonderful sign to see if you're a Denver Nugget fan, and we're gonna see how to do the rest of this remaining season and see how this season's gonna begin to play out. It's looking like it's gonna be doing a lot of changes from 3 all the way down. It's gonna be keep switching up a lot with everybody being so bundled together.
Yes.
I'll say this too. I don't care who they're playing. 55 points from Jamal Murray is 55 points from Jamal Murray, and it could be against the Tennessee Volunteers. That's still 55 points for Jamal Murray. When you get that you're going to win games, and he's not going to do that every night, obviously. But when you get even something remotely like that kind of game, they're going to win games. So I'm super excited for them. Just when you thought their one title that handful of years ago was just like, oh, they'll win their one and be off to the side. No, here they come again. really starting to get back into title contention with some of these top teams like the Thunder and the Celtics and the Cavs, even, and all these other teams. So really, yeah, I'm looking forward to them out of the All-Star break to see if they can keep this going.
Absolutely. So the team at the top of the Western Conference, Oklahoma City, they have been riding very well. SGA, again, when you're with the biggest argument right now is whether SGA is the MVP or not. I'll leave that up to you again because that's a discussion. As Joker gets closer to first place for me, I think for me it might change my mind a little bit. I had SGA because I think that the SGA narrative and to the press is what was probably going to get him the MVP. But now that Jokic is starting to get up there, as far as the team is concerned, with his video game numbers, once again, it's really going to hard to say no to him as being an MVP, at least one or two right there for you. But yeah, Oklahoma City, they're in cruise control. They're getting back at everyone healthy. They're looking still very dominant. Their defense, the best in the league right now. Outside of Denver, the Lakers, again, I give the Lakers a chance against any team in the Western Conference playoffs if you've got LeBron and Luka right and ready to go off. But they both have to go off to continue success in the playoffs. Point out, is there anybody out there in the Western Conference you guys are looking at for the rest of the let's say that this season is concerned as we get out of the playoffs? Legend, I know who you have an eye on, and I'll get it back to you in a second because we already discussed that. But Alfred, who do you have an eye on in the Western Conference that may start to make some noise outside of Denver, the Lakers, or OKC?
It's hard to say. I think one team that sticks out to me a little bit. I think they've fallen off just a tad, a little bit since the All-Star break. They kind of had actually a pretty rough stretch. I think if Houston gets back to form a little bit, I know I think they lost like a handful of games in a row right before the All-Star break. But if they get back to form a little bit, I think they can be a team. Maybe they're not going to win the West or anything, but they can be a team that, like some of the teams you just named, Gerald, don't want to play. Kind of like what Orlando was last year. That's kind of what I looked for when you asked that question. And Houston is that kind of team for me in the West. And right now, I mean, they're still, despite all the losses they suffered right before the All-Star break, they're still sitting fourth, you know what I mean, in the conference with home court advantage. So you kind of like that if you're them. I think they just need to gather themselves coming out of the break and say, hey, we got a break in for us. We're relaxed. Go back out there and play like we were at the beginning of the year so we can really, seal off home court for us. And if that happens, they can make a little bit of a run in the playoffs. And, if they are matched up with a Denver, LA, or it just slipped my mind, Denver, LA, or Oklahoma City. I don't know how they slipped my mind. Sorry. But if they face off against one of those teams, I don't know if they'd win. In fact, I probably wouldn't pick them to win, but it would be a tough opponent for those teams who they don't want to see. So there's definitely like a lot more teams those three would want to play besides Houston. That's the team that sticks out to me if they can get back to form like they did earlier in the year.
Legend, I know there's a team you have your eye on, not only because you're a fan, but because they made a major move at the trade deadline. We have varying opinions on how it's going to work out short term. And their window is also, by bringing in a player of his age, is also short term. Mm-hmm. But the benefits could also be out there for you as far as one last hurrah for one Stephen Curry.
I would definitely say my Warriors is the one that could be a potential sleeper. Do I think they can win a championship? No, not even close. But I think they can give someone a darn good first round matchup. They look a whole lot better with Jimmy Butler. The last couple of games have really showed improvement. They still need to make some moves, definitely this offseason, to really, really be a true championship team. But they at least can give someone a good 6, potential 7 game in the first round. So I definitely think the Warriors could be a sleeper. Another one I would say is the Clippers. I do like the sign of Ben Simmons coming off that bench. That's a major improvement. And then lastly, just like Alfred, if Houston can get it going, that's a very tough matchup for anyone in that Western Conference. I love their head coach. He's definitely one of the best coaches in this league. I personally believe he was still a Celtics coach. He still would win that championship the same way. Don't matter who coaches. So I would definitely say those would be my 3.
Okay. I notice BTS is begging us to talk about the Clippers. I don't know, BTS, are you a secret Clippers fan? Um, I know that you're a secret Ben Simmons stan. I don't know why, because I make layups better than he does, but neither, all right, we'll go ahead and talk about the Clippers because Ben Simmons, now that he has to play for a contract, because his very future is now on the line because, quite frankly, after June, he won't have a paying contract and he'll be a free agent out there. He now has to play more efficiently. He has to play like he has some semblance of offense. And he has to defend like he used to, which again is up in question with his string and myriad of injuries. Do you think Ben Simmons, which has proved to be early returns so far, seem to be okay for them coming off the bench? Do you think he could propel the Clippers and give the Clippers anything at all to look forward to, Alfred?
Again, hard to tell. It's been one game, right? Like we haven't gotten a good sample size at all, but it can't hurt. You know what I mean? For a team that where we were like heading into the year, we were all about, hey, we just really don't know what they're gonna be with, Kawhi seemingly injured all the time, and James Harden playing questionably, and little to no bench. This team is just not gonna do well. They've shut us all up. I mean, they're sitting there with a 6 seed, and only a guy like Ben Simmons can help that. And at this point with them, they don't need Ben Simmons, to do anything super crazy. They just need him for, some reassurance, if you will, and some support. So, yeah, I think he can absolutely be a guy, to just help them out even in the slightest. And mostly because they've shown up until this point, they don't need that to be a not just a play-in team, a top, 1 through 6 team in the West with a playoff spot. So, I don't know if it completely moves the needle to them, going super deep in the playoffs or anything like that. It certainly just can't hurt though. So yeah, I think again, more time will tell. He's played one singular game with them, but I think it can't hurt. It absolutely cannot hurt this team to have him there.
Yep. Xbox, he is not off minutes restriction. If you read the tweet that put out there, for the Charlotte game, Luka is still on a minutes restriction tomorrow against Charlotte, but he is hopeful there won't be a minutes restriction moving forward. That is the correct quote. So he is still on a minutes restriction. So whatever information Doobie or anybody else put out there is incorrect. The actual official word from Dave McMenamin at ESPN is that Luka, for tomorrow, will be on a minutes restriction against Charlotte, but he is hopeful that there won't be a minutes restriction moving forward. So, yeah, let's get that straightened out there and get the right information out there. Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Jackson Hayes has been cleared after his facial contusion, and Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent, to Joe's expectations, are also available tomorrow because I know he was pissed off that they were not there for Utah. Anybody else in the West that gets you guys have an eye on? Minnesota, do you think they can right the ship?
Yeah.
Phoenix,
Yeah.
do you think that's just a disaster already happening?
I think well I'll start with Minnesota. Natalia said that they're right up there with some of these teams, and I have to agree. I mean, I'll give them their flowers. They're sitting with the 7th seed. They're not too far back from some of these 1 through 6 teams we're talking about, and they're starting to not look as on and off like they did at the beginning of the year. They're starting to win a lot more games. You know what I mean? Heading into the break and stuff. And I mean, we know Anthony Edwards at this point. You let him get going, it's lights out material, and he will just if he has the green light in the slightest, you guys know this, he will just go until the game is over. So yeah, they're a team to certainly watch out for. I think part of that stuff at the beginning of the year with them, I heard this watching just ESPN basketball stuff. The whole Rudy Gobert cat thing, I think kind of played a number on them a little bit, kind of getting used to what that would look like and feel like. It definitely feels weird for that franchise not to have Cat around, at least toward the beginning of the year. But I think now that we're in February, we're starting to get all that figured out, and they're starting to win games at a more frequent rate. So if they keep doing that, they're right there among those 1 through 6 teams, and they could be a team that really starts to pick things up and works their way back into that 1-6 playoff picture, which they need. I'm sure, with Anthony Edwards and what he showed last year, they do not want to end up a play-in team. That is not what their expectation is anymore. So, yeah, I mean, Natalia's right. I'll give them their due flowers. They're right up there with the Rockets, the Warriors, even the Clippers, and all the teams we mentioned to watch out for in the West.
Legend, again, there's the disaster going on in Phoenix with the highest payroll that's out there in the NBA. And yeah, I'm sure Kevin Durant is still not the happiest camper. Well, actually, he had that barrage of tweets and late night stuff that was going on. He just was pissed off about everything again. But at least he didn't do it from a burner account. He did it from his actual account, from what I was told. Yeah, so he's not exactly thrilled right now. That's just not a happy, fun, kumbaya type place right now in Phoenix right now. Do you see any hope for them to straighten it out, or do you think that it's just going to continue to be a mess? And you can't tank. This is going to be a $200 million plus payroll that tanks. That's just, I don't think that's an option for Matt Ishbia.
Unfortunately, I think they're cooked. It looks like this has been a disaster in Phoenix. And the more I watch them play, the more they look at this team as of just going and trade all your big pieces off and just rebuild at this point. Get everybody up out of here and just rebuild at this point. Because it's not going anywhere. You're spending all this money to be mediocre, basically. You're spending too much money to be a play-in tournament. Like, send Kevin Durant somewhere else. Send Bradley Beal somewhere else. And I think they said Devin Booker don't want to leave, but I'll be like, bro, you wasting your time here. Go somewhere else and go win. It's time to start winning. So I think for them, this ship is sailed. It's a fail. It's over with. Scratch it. Get everybody out of here. Get some draft picks. Let's start over.
Gerald, is Kevin Durant with us in the chat? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's been a part of our chat now for the past week or so.
That's awesome.
He's been actually pretty good. Somehow Kevin Durant is a Sacramento Kings fan too in our chat. That's what he said. So
that makes no sense.
The other day. Yeah, that makes no sense. But because he's never played for them. But okay, maybe that's where he's headed to next.
It's got to be Kevin Durant. Like, that's got to be who this is. So,
but he's actually been very good. He hasn't been mean. But man, this past weekend after the All-Star game, he went off, and I'll just say that he was not a very happy individual. And the fact that he was bandied about, Legend will tell you his team almost got, they tried to work out a trade for him. Didn't quite work out there. He's like, oh, you're trading me, or you want to trade? No, I don't want to go to Golden State. I don't want to go back there. No, I don't want to play with Steph again. No, I can give him all the credit. No. Yeah, it's exactly so. Yeah, things are not kumbaya right now in Phoenix. I'll just leave it at that. Sacramento with this new look, I don't know how much I'll give them as far as that. I mean, they're the Chicago Bulls West now. Is that what you can say they are?
Actually, that's perfect. Actually,
yeah,
that is spot on. I mean, it's like
with more draft picks, though. With more draft picks, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it that way. They're just in a complete funk, and it seems like they had when this whole light the beam thing came on, all those years ago. It seemed like, hey, they're finally starting to kick it into gear a little bit for a team. There's some crazy stat about them in the playoffs. I think it's that I don't know what it is, but it's this long streak of something since like 2004, pretty much when Chris Webber was there. It's been that long with playoff success and stuff like that, if any. So it seemed like they were starting to kick it into high gear, but yeah, it's just a weird situation. You went after DeMar DeRozan, who clearly is starting to enter the twilight. You know what I mean, in his career and stuff. That's not really going to help you a ton. I think they bring in Zach LaVine, and actually Zach LaVine had like 30, their game before the All-Star break, which was nice to see. They did lose that game, but I guess it's kind of nice to see.
Valanciunas?
Yeah. I think it's him. Yeah, him too, I believe. I mean, I think so. I'll double check, but I feel like they're still so on and off. It's to the point where they could make the play-in. I'm not going to buy any stock into them, doing anything or affecting anybody. They're a team, no disrespect to the Sacramento Kings, Kevin Durant. They're a team who they're a team who these top teams kind of want to play. I feel like way more so than like the Timberwolves or like the Rockets if they drop down that far or someone like that. So yeah, we gotta wait and see on them. It was a little on and off heading into the All-Star break. They did have a little win streak in there, but I don't. You basically brought in the Zach LaVine thing, getting 30 and then losing to the Pelicans in overtime is quite funny to me. So you just kind of gotta wait and see how it works out for them after the break.
Okay. It's going to be interesting because I don't know if they got better and I don't know if they got worse. Is there a thing is that they went sideways, Legend? I just don't know what's going on in Sacramento. They gave away their best player. They brought in Valanciunas. Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what Sacramento trying to do. I thought they was on rebuilding mode, but then they brought him in, and I was like, I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know what you're trying to do at this point.
San Antonio, despite their way that they wanted to go ahead and win the skills challenge, I think they're fading. I think we're seeing that as before we speak. Portland could actually conceivably catch up to them, guys. And I know that Portland.
Odd.
I don't know. It's maybe Billups is playing for his job. That's the reason why they're winning so much. But they have a lot of assets that they could have traded at the trade deadline. I will reiterate this again when your team comes up, Alfred. They had a lot of I've already brought up to Legend yesterday with one of his teams. They had a lot of assets that they could have traded. They didn't make a move on any of them. I don't know what they're doing up there in Portland. Yeah, they're on a winning streak. That's nice, but it'll get them to 12th place. Yay. I don't know, Alfred. You tell me.
I think you brought up a good point. I think Chauncey might just be coaching for his job. Quite honestly, I think that's what this is. It's odd to think about. I mean, this was a Spurs team who was sitting seemingly pretty comfortable in a play-in spot for at least the time being, and they fell out so far. And then you bring in De'Aaron Fox, and you see how that works out. I think he led them in points the last game he was out there, and he's played about 5 for them. I'm trying to look at what he's done. 21 a game, something like right around there. The 3-point shot has not been there yet. Maybe that heats up after the All-Star break for him. But yeah, I don't know if De'Aaron Fox, strictly by himself will be enough to get this team back into the play-in spot when we're talking about, hey, the Timberwolves are starting to heat up, could heat up in a hot sec. The Warriors brought in Jimmy Butler, and maybe the Kings do a 180 on us and they just spike for some whatever reason, and Zach LaVine ends up working out for them or something like that as well. So they're kind of on their heels a bit. And I'm talking about the Spurs here. They're kind of on their heels a bit, and it's weird to think that the Trailblazers can catch this team. Yeah, I think that's what I really think that's what it is. We've talked about it with this team. It's just like a seemingly weird situation with them, and I do think it's Billups just kind of coaching for his job at this point.
How much do you think the calf strain for DeAndre Ayton, Legend, is actually real, or did he get like a hangnail and say you're out for 4 weeks? Because they really want to tank after all. The management up above is telling Billups we want to actually tank overall.
Well, I was wondering that a little bit myself. I'm like, you really hurt of this? I want to get.
He just got a 2020 game, and all of a sudden he's hurt. So.
That's what I thought was kind of odd. I know some teams do that. They'd be like, do us a solid. We'll pay you extra. Just throw some games for us real quick.
Okay, fair enough. Let's head over to the Eastern Conference. Right now, it is still Cleveland on top. Boston. I said on your show, Legend, let me bring it back to you. I said on your show, and I've said it on this show as well, that I think they're in a cruising mode. I really think that they're not putting out or showing all their cards. They've already won the championship. Often we see championships. The Lakers have been guilty of this, where they don't put out the maximum effort during the course of the regular season. I just think that at this point that's probably what they're doing. In my estimation, I think the goal for them is getting everyone healthy by the end of the season, and then making their usual playoff push then. Is it going to be enough to surpass Cleveland? As far as during the regular season, I think that Cleveland is still safe, and Cleveland will still probably end up having the first seed in the Eastern Conference. But I don't think it really matters to Boston either which way. But I said before, and I didn't say it on your show, but I'll say it now, Legend. I'll bring it back to you. With Cleveland, I really think that the only way they will win and get to the finals is if they have that number one seed and a home series throughout the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think, like you said, Gerald, that Boston's just really kind of just chilling, just regular season. They waiting for the playoff to start when all that matters. I don't think they really care about the seeding too much. They know what to expect. They've been there, they've done it, they won a championship. They ready for the real thing to start. I think for Cleveland, it's important, even for their confidence, to hold on to that number one seed and have that home court advantage. I think they need to have it for them, especially being a lot of them guys' first time probably making an actual run in the playoff for the first time. It's a different beast from playoff to the regular season. It's a whole different ball game. And that's where you're going to really get to see what Cleveland really made of. Because we've seen plenty of teams look good. Oklahoma, prime example. We look good in the regular season. Playoff and everything changes. The game slows down. You got a series you can pin down on you. Only you. By game 3 or 4, you pretty much know everything about each other at that point. It's just basketball at this point. Going to decide it.
I spoke to Mike. I was just going to say, I was going to lead into you, Alfred. I spoke to Mike Eguilano, who covers the Cavs, and he sees a scenario that could put the Cavs over the Celtics, but I think like he agrees with me that the Cavs have to have the confidence going in as the number one seed. I think that's imperative for them to have the home court advantage throughout their side of the playoffs. They have to continue the success and health of their big four with Hunter there now. The only trade that Atlanta made, I think, make some small trades, but yeah, the big trade for them was trading Hunter. I don't know if Hunter is actually going to be that guy that they needed in that fifth spot. We'll have to wait and see. But your assessment on Cleveland and how far it can go to possibly matching up well against the Boston Celtics in the playoffs.
Well, I think they could certainly go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that's realistic with them if they continue to play like they are. I do think there's some validity though to the idea and fact that they have to have the one seed to do that. I really, because I think one that like your friend with the Cavs said that like boosts their morale enough to the point where it's like, hey, we can go to the finals. You know what I mean? Because we've done this and we've accomplished this in the regular season. We have the confidence to do that. And again, it's kind of like with what I said about Ben Simmons. Not that I'm not comparing Ben Simmons and DeAndre Hunter, just the concepts of these trades. DeAndre Hunter can't hurt. It's just another guy to add to this team that's just excelling at the top of the NBA win-wise right now. And I was going to say about Boston, the whole, take the foot off the gas a little bit and not to show all your cards. It seems like a very Joe Mazzulla thing to do, knowing him as a coach and seeing how he acts and how he works and stuff. To do something like that, because he's probably, he's just like, yeah, I mean, none of this really matters. We'll wait till the playoffs and then we'll just do our thing. We're fine with the 2 seed because they won it last year. They know what this is. They've seen this before. They know what this is. All these guys are familiar with the playoffs and going the distance, at least in the playoffs. If they match up with the Cavs, like late in, let's say, an Eastern Conference Finals, because that seems like a pretty likely matchup to happen as of right now. The Cavs have not gone that far. These guys on the Cavs have not been down this road that far, although they have seen Boston. So that makes it a little bit interesting because of last year. But yeah, I think having the 1 seed is imperative because, like you said, that's what gives them the confidence to go deep and go far. And a guy like DeAndre Hunter, you could think of him as a big needle mover or not. He can't hurt. You know what I mean? He can't hurt this team. He only helps it. But yeah, I think that's really the key for them is to get this 1 seed.
I know, Legend, when I was on your show, and please go ahead and check out my interview or his interview with me that I had with him on his channel. I got Legend Sports Media. I know we talked about the Knicks, and they're in this kind of like island unto themselves because they're not in the totally count them out from seemingly Indiana on. People are giving those teams below Indiana no chance in a lot of cases. Sorry, sports baby. I know that he's a mod with our show and he loves the Indiana Pacers, but I have not heard anybody on any national level give the Indiana Pacers a chance, or Milwaukee, or Detroit, Orlando, Atlanta, Miami, and Chicago. I can't believe Chicago's still in this. Yeah, Chicago or Philadelphia a chance at this point in time. New York seems to be in an island in and of themselves where you don't really believe that they're as good as those first two, but you don't really believe that they're totally out of it as far as the chance is concerned. They're 8 games out. They do have one of the best records in the Eastern Conference. They have been relatively healthy most of the season, although Tibbs is trying really hard to prove us wrong on that by playing them 90,000 minutes in a game. In regards to that, though, I don't know what they could bring. I mean, they're supposed to be geared more towards defense, but as we have seen, they're playing the hell out of the offensive side of the ball. They're acquiescing to both Cat and Brunson. Anunoby and Bridges, to me, are the key. If those guys aren't guarding well, I don't give them much of a chance. I don't know what will happen in the playoff format, but those guys have got to step it up defensively if they are to have any chance of cracking that top 2, Legend.
Yeah, I would definitely say they're definitely like almost in that top tier spots in the Eastern Conference. They're definitely in the mix for going to the finals. I don't think they will, but I feel like for the Knicks, I still feel like it's some things have to go right for them to get there. And I'm also wondering too, just how long you can. I know Till's like to push his players a lot, and definitely you start breaking down. I'm not but sure how much you can be able to continue to push them, especially in the playoff, and you start shrinking down to like 7 or 8 man rotations. But I'm curious to see how far the Knicks team can go. But to me, they look like a team that can go at least maybe conference finals or second round and probably bounce right there.
Alfred, do you concur on the Knicks? I mean, again, there's varying opinions on the Knicks, whether they do have a chance or do not have a chance. Offensively, they're as game as anyone. I will not dissuade anybody from that as far as that concerned. But defensively, kind of surprised me how there seems to be less focus than in years past on the defensive end for a Tibbs team that he has always prided himself on being a defensive guy. He was, coming up as far as assistant coach, he was defensive minded. As far as, the teams that he was on, it was always defensive minded. This year, they're one of the top offensive teams out there. With Brunson and Cat not being noted defenders, they have, obviously they have to rely on that side of the ball, but those forwards and Ball have got a lot of work ahead. It's almost like they're just saving themselves on the defensive end for now, because they know with those 3 players what's upcoming for them. And Miles McBride to an extent too, because I know he's a decent defender. Normally, he's a decent defender. What's waiting for them on the other side once the playoffs start, Alfred?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we look at the last handful of games going back to January 29th against the Nuggets. These are the amount of points they've given up in those games. 112, 128, 118, 115, 131, 115, and then a staggering 148 to the Hawks. That won't let you beat the Celtics, and it won't let you beat the Cavs either, quite frankly. I don't think they could beat those 2 teams that way. That being said, it works out funny enough. That's the 2 teams ahead of them, you know what I mean, in the conference. So it kind of speaks to where I think the ceiling can be when their defense is working. And I can't sit here and be like, they stink. The defense isn't good because, well, they're the 3 seed in the East. I mean, what they're doing is working to an extent. I just don't think, I think Legend put it perfectly, Eastern Conference Finals, then bounce. It's like, you can't really see them beating the Cavs or Celtics this way. You could beat the Hawks 149 to 148 in overtime just fine, but you can't do that against a Cleveland or a Boston. And if they somehow just wind up in the finals off pure fluke playing that way, you run into how the Nuggets are playing right now, or the Oklahoma City Thunder, or even the Lakers. If LeBron and Luka are on their game, you're not going to beat them either in the finals. In fact, you're going to get bounced really bad if you get to that point. So that needs to, Yeah, 4-0, honestly, with all those teams I just mentioned. So that needs to get figured out, rather sooner than later. Not panic time though. Not panic time whatsoever. If you're New York, you got to like the way they've played this year. That's a very good point, and though that needs to be kind of the focus because again, it's kind of like what we say about LeBron and Luka. If they have Brunson and Cat, they're two guys, exclamation point going. uh they're hard to stop. So, get the defense figured out, and this team is set for a pretty good shot at getting to the finals. Right now, though, my hand is shaking side to side, as in meh, about how far they'll go because of the defense. Right.
Meh,
Exactly.
meh,
Meh. Meh.
meh. Again, those guys, the Ananobis, the Bridges,
Mm-hmm.
the Balls, the McBrides, they have to step it up. They have to play defense like they've had in previous seasons once the playoffs start. And if they don't, they're second round and out. And that's going to be the end of that. And I'll just leave it at that. If not, they maybe can do some damage. But we'll see. Again, we didn't think Indiana was going to do any damage last year, and look how far they went. They could have realistically beaten the Boston Celtics in that at Eastern Championship final, and didn't get it done. But them getting there in the first place was a big surprise need. So that could still be out there. And if that's the case, I'll have you talk about the rest. I'm going to group the rest of the Eastern Conference for this part, closing as far as our last part of our conversation, guys. Since you guys both have teams that you've had a vested interest in. So, Legend, I'm going to start with you with the rest, the best of the rest. I'll say that as far as concerned, including your Hawks. Is there anybody that stands out? Any players, teams, or any situations that you're keeping an eye on outside of the race for many of these teams in the Eastern Conference for the bottom? And who gets the better play? Who gets the better lottery odds? Obviously, for the Cooper Flags, sweepstakes. Although he did say he really likes it in school, which is
Yeah.
a lot of NBA GMs were like, "Oh, don't say that, don't say that."
What?
But
Stay in college for more than a year. What?
he could
No.
get paid more. He could get paid more in college next season than
Hello,
he could get.
NIL.
Yeah, NIL indeed. So
Right.
that he can as an NBA rookie.
Man,
But,
phone calls coming in.
Exactly. But Legend, let me know about the best of the rest for the Eastern Conference before we head on out.
My remaining on that eastern side, man, it's pretty lottery from when you go all the way down. I'm about to go either Orlando or Indiana at that point out of everybody else that's remaining.
Okay.
That's still to me.
Is Zachary Ricochet a bust in Atlanta? What are they saying? Because all I heard in the past few days is bust for Zachary Ricochet.
Well, for the last time when I last went to the Hawks game, all I heard was, "We did it again. We messed up." First, you could have had Luka. You trade him away, and then you do this. So,
what choice would you really had this year in a tough year? Castle.
I actually would have loved that. Okay, he's homegrown. He's from Georgia, not far from Atlanta either.
Okay. I mean, he wasn't that far out that you wouldn't have been a total surprise picking him. So I get that. Yeah, I think Castle, of the top 10 picks, maybe Castle, maybe Edie. I don't know. I mean, it's just that hard of a year to determine who's got the best rookie out there, Legend. But yeah, any other picks for you on that, Legend, before I take it over to Alfred?
That's probably it for me on that one. My two picks would be Indiana, Orlando to be the best of the remainder.
All right. Well, he mentioned Orlando, Alfred, and this conversation that I've been meaning to have with you now for weeks is finally going to happen. We thought, okay, their two stars are out. Of course, that explains why that they went into a free fall.
Right.
All right. So we got to get them back going. Got to get them back healthy. One comes back into the lineup. Still a free fall. Okay. You still don't have both guys back. Okay, we're good when it comes out. All it's going to be better when the guys come back. Both guys have been there. Both guys have been there for about 2-3 weeks now. correct me if I'm wrong, that free fall is still happening and they're still below 500 at this point in time, Alfred, when things were so good for you once, when you at the beginning of the season were on a high because Orlando was top 3 in Eastern Conference, just like Legends Golden State Warriors and like my Lakers at one time who were ping-ponging all over the place during the early part of the season. Orlando has just not been able to get themselves out of hole, and they're not digging themselves out.
No, they didn't. You can see me rubbing my face like this. That about sums up what's happening. It's the best way I can. I mean, this is a team that went from legit third in the East to the 7th seed right now, but not a comfortable 7th seed. The Atlanta Hawks are half a game back on us, an 8th, 7th seed. I'm sweating.
Is it really worth saying something when you both are under 500? Is that really saying something?
Yeah, it is. It's saying a lot, and it's beyond me. Let's just cut right to the chase about it. It's beyond me that Jeff Weltman didn't do a thing at the trade deadline, not a single thing. The way he's put it in the words I've heard from him after the deadline was, look, we have our team. And it basically just kind of sounded like we're evaluating what we have. And I'm like, well, last year that's what this was. And they ended up the 5th seed in the East and took a team to 7 games in the first round. That seemed like a pretty good evaluation of what you had. Pretty disappointing trade deadline, I got to say. And, he is not a bad GM. This is the first time where it's made Magic fans go, what was that, with what he's done. I mean, this is a guy that's drafted really well. He's drafted Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, in the past handful of years, and he's basically created this team and this roster as we've seen it. He didn't create a good situation at this deadline when you had, like you said, Gerald, you had guys you could ship off, and because you're just loaded with your depth that you have, and teams could use it just, to kind of see what they're about. Cole Anthony had his name thrown around. Guys as good as and Anthony Black had their names thrown around as people to trade. Wendell Carter Jr., had his name being thrown around in trades as well. Jeff Weltman, though, ended up being like, no, we're holding Wendell Carter. And that made me go, oh, okay. He's just going to send someone else somewhere else. But no, that did not happen.
Well, let me ask you this, because I had pitched this before the trade deadline. This is my Laker Tom in me, guys. Legend and Alfred, because you've seen the Legend of Laker Tom in action live on one show that we did, a mock draft one time. I had proposed offense for defense because the Lakers needed defense, and of course, as you know, the main problem Orlando is offense, and it is really bad as far as the offense in Orlando. And I thought, you know what? We need the big guys. You guys need some scoring. So I was all in for a trade, sending Rui and AR for Goga, either Isaac or Wendell Carter Jr., and then you giving us Cole Anthony. So it worked out. The money worked out where we got those 3 guys. I think you put in Gary Harris too, and we put in Gabe Vincent, something like that. So it worked out. Okay. Would you have been opposed to something like that?
So if money works out here, if it was Gabe Vincent, AR, and Ruri for Goga, I'd do Goga, Wendell, and Cole Anthony for the 3 I just named from the Lakers straight up, 3 for 3. If the money worked out like that, I would do it.
I think I said Jonathan Isaac because the money worked out, but it was something. It was one of those 2 where it worked out. I forget exactly which one it was, but yeah, it was one of those 2 either which way. But Isaac with his declining salary is something that I thought was also something that Joe had originally pointed out. And I want to give him credit on that. That as far as his declining salary after this year was something that to work out as well. Would you have been opposed to that as far as bringing AR and Rui to the team?
I not necessarily opposed. I mean, I know AR could provide a lot of offense in support of Paolo and Franz. Those 2 would obviously be the first 2 options still. They need to be, regardless of how they're playing. But AR could support that. And, I would certainly not be opposed to it. I think, the thing I would think about would be the players I'd send over and all this stuff. You know how I feel about Jonathan Isaac. But I'd really think about it. It seemed like Jeff Weltman, I'm trying to think of people that were in the realistic.
Because his rhetoric, from what you're saying, just reminded me of Rob Pelinka. That's the exact paraphrasing, rhetoric that he has used over the course. That has irritated Laker fans to no avail. But he's on cloud nine. He has now been almost deitized after
pulling off
pulling off Luka, so he can walk on water right now with the Lakers fans, but most Lakers fans, I guess I should say. But at this point in time, those doing nothing at the trade deadline for a team that's sorely needed, like Orlando, that's been such a free fall. Is he trying to see the bigger picture down the road? And if that's the case, is there a bigger picture down the road with Orlando?
Yeah, I think there is. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. I think there's a realistic chance that this year ends up pretty not where Orlando wanted it to be, and that's fine. But you got to look at it this way too. I mean, if you end up, if you end up toward the bottom of the play-in or something like that, you end up with a better draft pick. If you don't make the playoffs, that sort of thing. So you have that. You kind of have that going on. It's not time for me with Jeff Weltman. Again, like I said, he has created the team we saw last year and the roster that we have from pretty much scratch, right? Like not even pretty much from scratch, compared to what was going on around COVID when Cole Anthony was literally the best player on this team. So it's been up from there. I think this is just kind of like a whoa moment. Like why did this not occur? And maybe nothing worked out. The one name, this is what I was trying to think of. The one name that popped up that had the Magic thinking and the Magic calling was Kobe White over in Chicago. And I just think, there wasn't anything appetizing enough that Chicago was wanting from the
Chicago's
Magic.
way too busy making bad trades, Alfred. Don't bother them right now, please. Don't.
Right. Well, that's the one I saw. The one guy that they were slightly interested in was Kobe White. So
no worries. I'm just joking with you on that. Chicago did make a couple of bad trades during the course of the trade deadline.
Right.
I'll just leave it at that. And didn't even trade their center, who would have been a prime candidate to probably move for some kind of good assets anywhere. But
right. I mean, Joe set it up there earlier. Sacramento is Sacramentoing when we were talking about the Kings. Chicago's Chicagoing. They've been Chicagoing for quite some time now. So,
they're really aspiring to be in that purgatory with you guys there. But speaking of that, I think the best trade, I proposed a good trade. The best trade is something I have proposed with Legend about his team, and that's Trae Young. I mean, where Atlanta is right. Jalen Johnson's done for the season. So, I mean, your realistic expectations on how far you can go as a 7th or 8th seed, I don't think you guys, at this point, really, Risa Shea is obviously not the number one pick that you had hoped he would be. Right now, things are just there. Trae Young is carrying you to this kind of record that you have now. Would it have been wise for Atlanta to go ahead to get on the phone with a team like Orlando and say, let's make a deal?
That's what I said to yesterday. Orlando, they need scoring. Here you go. Merry Christmas early. I got your Christmas gift.
I have been begging for that for Gerald, this for almost, I feel like 2 years at this point. You know what I mean? For that to happen. I was begging for it when it wasn't possible to happen because of contract stuff. And I looked like an idiot because of it. But regardless, I was still begging for it. And here we are when it becomes more and more likely because of contract stuff. And nothing was done. I mean, it's weird. It's really weird. The bottom of the East, like Legend was saying and doing earlier, is not like the bottom of the West. It is pretty dire. And it drops off pretty quick once you get get out of the top 6. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. The one team, I guess, if you want to talk about a team I've been impressed with in the East, it's the Pistons. I mean, they're sitting with the 6th seed right now. They played pretty well leading up to the break. I know there might be people watching. That's who they're going to play. So they're going to play who's in front of them, and they're going to get those wins where they can. And hey, I mean, it's been quite awesome to see. I mean, you got Cade Cunningham playing well, still playing very well this year. I've been really impressed with him and how he's kind of grown, as a former number 1 pick. I just don't think it's kind of like a similar Orlando situation. I don't think they're going to go far in the playoffs. They're way too young and way too inexperienced for that. One of the guys that just pops into my mind on their team with playoff experience is Tobias Harris, and it's not friendly playoff experience. Just ask any 76ers fan about that. So that's my one quarrel, I guess, with Detroit, but this has been a huge step up from where they were. I mean, I think all of us still had them toward the bottom of the East, finishing down there, and that's just not where they're going to end up as of right now. So I've been impressed with them and how they've played down the stretch here. And in one of those Chicago games, I think it was the first one of that back-to-back, they made them look silly in that first half. I think it was like 60-something to 20 at halftime or something like that. It was some sort of score like that, and it was bad. So I like how they're playing. They're a team who I've been impressed with and who stood out to me and gets my mind off of Orlando not doing anything.
You guys did a great job as always. I know that there's some people asking for Joe. Joe, if he wants to do a show later tonight, that's up to him. Again, but he'll be on tomorrow with me for the Lakers Fast Break post game, so you'll get plenty of Joe to get your Joe fix then. Plus, he might be on playback as well as the Lakers play Charlotte on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. But before we end and out, it's that magical time to go ahead and do that pitch. Legend, I'll start off with you, my friend. Where can they catch up with all your great work that you do out there in the sports world on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts?
So you are welcome to check me out on my YouTube channel. I got Net Sport Media. Usually a lot of times I will be doing a lot of probably in-game lives over Golden State and Atlanta Hawks games. Definitely going to be talking a lot more on my Hawks and Warriors as we get close to the season, as well as seeing what the Hawks going to do this offseason and see how the Warriors improve. And if you like video games, check me out on that as well. I will be doing definitely a lot of streams off of my PS5 or Series X, one or the other. And yeah, we'll go from there.
About just came out today. Woohoo!
I still got to play About. I still got to play it.
Okay. All right. But where can they go? One more time. I got Next Sports Media. Is that correct on YouTube?
Yep, I got Net Sports Media.
All right. Famous says, who is your favorite Atlanta Hawk of all time? Dominique Wilkins. Say Dominique Wilkins. Dominique Wilkins.
I want to say Dominique Wilkins just because UGA is like right up the road from my house. So I want to be like, because he's like a legend for our area. I want to say Dominique Wilkins, and then one I would say is a childhood inspiration because he was so short, so like Spud.
What a great player. Otherwise, yes, he had the leaping ability. You know what he did as far as the slam dunk, but it overshadowed the fact that he was a really solid player in the league for many years. I think that goes without saying. Absolutely. I will tell you this right now, though, Alfred. Favorite Bee Gees songs. I see the poster in the back.
Yeah, right up. Oh, wrong finger. Right up that way. Yeah, I gotta think. I got that thing in like a yard sale type deal, and I just needed some room decoration, so that's where I got it. But if I had to pick a song by them, not How Deep Is Your Love. That's what everyone says, and it's like their most popular one. So I have to pick a cool one. Nights on Broadway. I guess that one's still a little popular, but not to the level of some of their other ones. So I'll do that one. I'm going to go that one. So Nights on Broadway, but I guess where all my stuff is, as you guys know, I've shifted more into the baseball world. Working for World Baseball Network, general content creation sort of stuff, but mostly doing college baseball. I was just in Arlington for opening weekend of the college baseball season this past weekend. It was awesome. Great experience covering that event. It had a lot of good teams there. So if you're a college baseball fan, head over to there to check my stuff out. Or if you like baseball in general, they do all sort of baseball news. So head over to there and check that out. Also doing Southeastern 16 podcast on them with SEC baseball stuff. The SEC are the head honchos of college baseball. So that's always just interesting content and everything. Just working on that. I mean, the season just started. We're 4 or 5 days into it, and it's a grind up until June when Omaha and the College World Series is. So that's really what I've been doing, what I've been up to, and catching the NBA every once in a while, watching the Magic, hopefully get back to winning even a little bit. That's really what I've been up to. So enjoying that, loving that, and thank you guys for having me back on. It's been great talking with everyone again. Legend Gerald, pleasure to join you too, as always.
Always great to have both you here. Absolutely, indeed. Xbox says Esmond and me Bee Gees pod. Okay, that's you guys are on that one. All right, I'll let you guys go ahead and do that. Line that up because he's on the East Coast Xbox and you're in Australia, so I'll let you guys figure that one out. But for me, it's staying alive because actually how important it is to the healthcare industry, and because actually it is used as far as to keep in rhythm for chest compressions. So
Right.
just give you that little thing there. So I'm going to say that, but I'll leave that as is. But of course, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is, of course, Alfred Ezman for the World Baseball Network and Legend from I Got Next Sports Media. Please go ahead and support them today. And while you're supporting people, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to become a member with us right here at the Lakers Fast Break for just $2.99 a month. Indeed. But Joe, if he wants to, you know he'll do it. You know he'll pop on if he wants to, if he's got something to growl about or growl at or somebody to growl to. He'll go ahead and come on later tonight if he wants to. But also, of course, you know you've got us tomorrow, starting with the game tomorrow against Charlotte. It's the only one in the books for the NBA tomorrow because it is that game that was displaced due to the fires in Southern California. So that's tomorrow. The Lakers and the Charlotte Hornets. We'll be back for that on playback.tv's House Lakers Fast Break. And then, of course, afterwards, it is the most fascinating, interesting, and opinionated Lakers post game that's around there. It is, of course, all from all of us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. So for Alfred Ezman, Legend, it's Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this thing for some NBA observations right here on the Lakers Fast Break podcast.